So hello everyone. Today me and Eleonora will be talking about cultural heritage between Strife and Reconciliation, more specifically concerning the cultural heritage that was destroyed during the insurgency in the year 2001. So me and Eleonora will be taking turns talking about some negative examples, so what was destroyed, and also some positive examples of cultural heritage being restored despite ethnic conflicts in Macedonia, as well as a couple of examples in Greece. So firstly, we have to talk about the context of the conflict. It happened in the year 2001 near the modern Kosovo and Macedonian border. And the parties involved were the Kosovo Liberation Army, as well as the Macedonian Armed Forces. The most notable example of heritage being destroyed was the Leshuk monastery. It's located in the village of Leshuk near Tetovo. The monastery complex was established in 1326, and it currently has 3 churches. So the old Church of St. Athanasius, which dates from the 14th century, the Church of the Dormition of the Mother of God, also from the 14th century, as well as the new Church of St. Athanasius, which you can see on the picture there, which dates from the 20th century. The old Church of St. Athanasius was the Catholicon, or the main church of the monastery complex, and it was built in the first half of the 14th century. The frescoes themselves of the church date near the middle of the 14th century. The founder of the church was the Hieromonk Antonius. The church is also significant because it was the seat of the first bishop of the Polog region, Ioannikos. The church itself has a cross-shaped plan as well as a Western narthex. So during the conflict, the church was infiltrated by fighters from the Kosovo Liberation Army, where it was vandalized with graffiti on multiple places where it would spell out Ucheka, and also the sarcophagi which were in the church, including the sarcophagus of the church's founder, which you can see here, were defaced and broken. Also, trenches were dug out and surrounded the church in the yard. The second church, the Dormition of the Mother of God, was built before 1326, so it's older than the other church, and it was later renewed and repainted. It was also had another restoration later on. The founder was also the Hieromonk Antonius, so he founded both churches. During the conflict, the church itself wasn't damaged, but it was broken into and some valuables in it were looted. The new Church of St. Athanasius is the current main church of the monastery, and it was first built in 1924 by the Igumen Seraphim, and it was later painted in 1936. It had 3 domes, 1 above the nave and 2 above the narthex. During the conflict, the church was explosives were placed in the church's altar, and the entire eastern part of the church was completely destroyed. Only part of the narthex remained, which we can see here how badly it was destroyed. So the church stayed destroyed until the European Union donated a large funds, so approximately 400,000 euros after the conflict, for the church to be rebuilt. The rebuilding, as you can see here, took place over the years, and it was finally reopened in 2007.
So another similar example, it's the Mateci Monastery. It's located in the north of the country near the city Tetovo. The most important building in the monastery, of course, is the church dedicated to the Holy Mother of God. It is built around 1345, and the frescoes are from 1348 to 1352. And it's also on its importance goes that the founder of this church was Tsar Dušan's wife, Elena. And you can see the complex, it has a complex crossing square plan with 5 domes. Big cultural significance for this church are the frescoes inside. It is noted as one of the most noble Byzantine monuments in the Balkans and the masterpiece of Byzantine monumental painting. These are the biggest painting ensemble from 14th century in Macedonia, second biggest in the Balkans. Its value increases more because of the atelier that was painting the frescoes inside, which is the atelier of Jovan Teorian. The monastery was occupied during the insurgencies. It was used as base and ammunition storage. The interior was burned, the inventory stolen. The most damage was on the frescoes. They were drawn with markers, shots in them. But the exterior of the church is pretty much in its good condition. And also I think it's in state of conservation of the frescoes. Yes. So on the other side, another example is Chachi Mosque, located in Prilep. That's on western south part of the country. In the old bazaar of Prilep near the clock tower. Year of construction, you can see 1475, and founder is Haji Hussein. This mosque has one specific thing because it's the first mosque built in Europe that has two balconies on the minarets, and it's the only one this type of minaret in Macedonia from that time. Here you can see the minaret with the city. So what happened during the conflict? There was an ambush in the place called Karpalak, where 10 soldiers were killed, and all 10 of them were from the city Prilep. So the citizens from Prilep with Macedonian ethnical background now, in protest of the killed soldiers, went out and burned the mosque. So this mosque is still in this damaged state, burned with a lot of the walls destroyed, the tip of the minaret. Here is pre-conflict condition and post-conflict condition.
So the last negative example we'll be talking about is the case of the fortress in Skopje, which the incident which concerns it happened later, but it happened because of the ethnic conflicts, which took root in the same conflict in 2001. So the fortress itself has been inhabited since the early Copper Age, and the earliest construction phase of the fortress itself, of the walls, was during the 6th century under Byzantine rule. Over the centuries, it's been rebuilt numerous times, including by the Serbians in the Middle Ages and later by the Ottomans. The fortress was also partially destroyed during years, but a large earthquake in 1963, and it was partially restored afterwards. In 2007, large-scale archaeological excavations began in the fortress, and numerous discoveries were made from all the different time periods which concern the sites. For example, here on the top picture, you can see a house which dates from the middle of the 2nd millennium BC. And partially the reason for the incident we'll be talking about, you can see on the picture down there, which is a church which dates from the 13th century. So, but first we need to talk about what the plans for the site were. After the archaeological excavations ended, the plan was to have the site open for tourists and to have 3 different museums to represent 3 different periods of the fortress's history. So one museum for prehistory, another museum for Byzantine culture, so the Middle Ages, and one museum for Ottoman culture. The church, which I talked about last slide, was supposed to turn into the museum focused on the medieval culture, which you can see here, the museum being built. But the problem there was someone decided to turn it into a game to get political influence, and misinformation was spread that the church was to be restored as a church, which sparked ethnic conflicts, more so religious conflicts, because it is in part of the old town, so there's a large Muslim population. So why should it be restored as a church? Second of all, by the same people, information was spread that disinformation was spread that under the church were older Illyrian structures, and those proponents were saying that as such, those structures should be given to them to do so as they please. Because of this, on the night of February 10th, 2011, while workers were working on construction of the museum, around 100 citizens who were ethnically Albanians came to the site and demanded for them to stop. There were back and forth between both sides for a couple of days, but on the February 13th, hundreds of people of both sides came to the place at the same time, and which ended in a violent conflict in which 10 people were left injured. Here you can see the protests on the museum being built. So what happened afterwards was political parties came to an understanding, so to speak, and the conflicts were resolved. But the conflict left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. And so, as you can see here, the entire fortress is destitute. No museums were built, none of it was opened, and it still stands like this to this day. So now, those were the negative examples of what was destroyed. Now we'd like to talk about some monuments that were restored, which could be taken as an example for further future hope, so that these scars from this conflict can also be made.
So the first example that we will talk about is the memorial room of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. As we all know, is known as the father of modern day Turkey. In 1978, there was opened an exhibition of photographs, documents about the life of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk in Bitola. Bitola is the city where he was studying military school. He was born in Thessaloniki, and his family is from village Kojajic in Macedonia. So he has somehow tight connections with our country. It's because of that I will feel respected in Macedonia. So this permanent exhibition, the memorial room in the museum, was opened in 1998 by the presidents of Macedonia and Turkey as a collaboration project of the both governments, and it was founded by the both governments. Here you can see the photos of the room. It has pictures, documents, some clothing, and on the similar topic of the.
And a similar topic, this is the family house of the Atatürk family, also known as Ali Rıza Efendi's house. Ali Rıza Efendi was Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's father. So it's located in Kojaji, near the city of Debar. Like I said, was the house of Ali Rıza Efendi. And during excavations, only the foundations of the house were visible. So in 2004, the whole complex was revealed. It's occupied a space of 20,000 square meters, so a large space. It included 2 houses and also a small amphitheater in the yard. The entire project was a collaboration between the Ministry of Culture, the Macedonian Ministry of Culture, and as well as the Turkish agency TIKA. You can see the interior of the house as well as a figure of Atatürk. And on a similar note, this is the Yeni Mosque in Thessaloniki. So it's of course located in Thessaloniki. It was built in the start of the 20th century by Italian architect Vitaliano Poselli. And it was built for the needs of the Donme community. Those are Jewish people who converted to Islam after the population exchange between Greece and the Ottoman Empire, which took place in 1924. The mosque was turned into Thessaloniki's first archaeological museum, which it stayed until the construction of the modern archaeological museum in 1962. This year, for the first time in over 100 years, it was open for 8 prayers. So Muslims could pray in the mosque for the first time in over 100 years.
So still in Greece, the Murat Rice complex in Rhodos, which is a complex of mosque and mausoleum, constructed in 1623. On that side, there was previously a church that upon that was constructed this complex. The complex is pretty much in good condition, so it had been in restorations only in 1797 and 1798, and later in 1993. But in 2013, there were several weather conditions in Greece, and the mausoleum of the complex collapsed. But the good thing is that this complex was announced to be restored this year in March 2024. But for this monument, there is another interesting example that the original minaret was destroyed in Italo-Turkish War that took place in 1912. And in that bombardment, the minaret was destroyed. But later on, the Italians were the ones building the minaret in the form we are seeing it today. So it's like nice gesture for me of respecting others people cultural heritage. So yeah, we wanted to draw some parallel here on the examples that could be bad examples, that how the cultural heritage can be destroyed because of hate and mainly of the politics, and how there are some hopes that and most importantly, there is a potential for us to reconcile and to use this cultural heritage that we share in our country, to use it somehow to get to like each other more. So if you had something to say. We are here for questions and comments.